Hello, Stockholm. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm very happy to be here in this wonderful town. Today we are celebrating 250 years of Freedom of the Press Act, which is a wonderful achievement. And we have a lot of question marks about the freedom of press today. We should be really celebrating without raising those question marks today. After 250 years, we should not be asking today what's going on, what's going wrong in Sweden or in Europe. We should be really celebrating, but we still have some troubles. So 250 years ago, some people in this country figured out that we need some action for more freedom of press. But do you remember what happened 388 years ago? Can you guess? A wonderful ship called Vasa was sinking not far away from here. You know why this ship was sinking? First of all, because it was overloaded. And second, because all of those who knew that there is a problem with this ship couldn't say it, because the king was insisting that this ship will go for its maiden voyage on time. The king was busy in the war in Germany, and they actually tested the ship before and figured out there is a problem with the balance of this ship, but they broke the test because they were afraid that this may lead to a delay of the maiden voyage. Does that sound familiar to you? We are in a similar situation basically today, with one difference. Many of us know that there is a problem with the ship. Many of us are screaming and warning and saying there is a problem with the ship. But still, those in charge insist that this ship might go on. The Vasa royal ship made it only 1,300 meters and one was hit by the wind and was sinking. It was recovered much later, and now you can admire it in the wonderful Vasa Museum. I hope that this is not going to be the future of Sweden. To be watched as a nice story at a museum. I hope that this is not going to be the future of Europe. But if we continue doing like that, if we continue following a doctrine dictated from above, that's how we should discuss certain issues, this might be the end. It's interesting that we are talking in the Stockholm Comedy Club about the freedom of speech. Whenever when I was watching the wonderful speaker before me, I was thinking of a famous scene from Fawlty Towers, where a German is saying, "This is not funny." You remember this scene? Fawlty Towers, the Germans, a wonderful episode, you should watch it. For those of you who don't know, who haven't watched it yet, my dear American friends, maybe, there is a group of German tourists coming to a British hotel, Fawlty Towers, and there is a lady in this hotel who is traumatized by the war. She doesn't want anybody to talk about the war. So everybody of her family is telling John Cleese, the waiter, don't mention the war. Don't mention the war. And because he was warned so many times, he keeps making mistakes all the time. So she's exchanging names, like when they are ordering herring, he's saying Hermann Göring, and he's asking him, now I can take your orders, and then he's switching in a Nazi speech and saying, orders must be obeyed all the time without a question. Something like that. And at the end, he was making this funny walk of like this, doing like this. Before turning this occasion to a comedy show. I feel the same, by the way, like John Cleese. Many people in Germany, as in Sweden and all over the world, are telling me all the time, don't mention Islam. Don't mention the Prophet. Don't mention migration. Don't mention refugees, all the time. And whenever I hear that, I feel more provoked that I have to talk about it. When I was publishing my last book, The Case Against Muhammad, or Muhammad eine Abrechnung, in Germany, many people were asking me, why do you have to do that? And my answer is always, because you're asking me. Because it's still a question to ask. Because had it be another name, the case against Jesus, or Moses, or Alexander the Great, or Elvis Presley, nobody will bother. Nobody will ask me, why are you doing that? So making a historic figure immune against criticism, or satire, or art, painting, is provoking me as a rational human being who is living in the middle of Europe in the 21st century. So just because you're trying to make him immune is provoking me to ask questions around this. So you say, don't mention Muhammad, and I say like, who married the girl when she was 6 years old? Oh, no, sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Who killed the Jews? Who was killing war prisoners? I have to ask these questions. That's what I learned. That's what I learned when I came to Europe. That's what I thought when I came to Europe. I really thought when I came to Europe that freedom of speech is something that matters for everyone. But I was shocked to figure out such is not the case. Many people would write me wonderful letters. Thank you, Mr. Abdel-Samad, for what you are doing for the freedom of speech. Thank you for expressing what I cannot express publicly. And it's so sad message. It's so sad message that my name is protecting me while criticizing Islam, while you can't. That's a sad story. That's kind of discrimination. That's kind of discrimination. That teachers and policemen, social workers would come after my lecture and say, thank you so much for saying what I cannot say. Why? Why can't a teacher in the middle of Europe say what he thinks or what she thinks? Many people are wondering, why are you always under police protection? Why are you leading such a life? I say because we are so few who are speaking up publicly. If everyone who thinks like me will speak up, I won't be in danger anymore. We would be so many to be targeted. So what did I do to be in such a situation? I wrote a book, 2 books. So the first one was Islamic Fascism. In Germany, to publish such a title in Germany, wow. I was about to be crucified for that, literally. People, like, you publish a book about Islam and about fascism, and it's the same book. You can imagine the political left in Germany, which has dedicated their lives to fight against fascism 70 years too late. There is no danger at all to be an anti-fascist today and to play official because it's too late, 70 years too late. They are very provoked when I'm telling them, if you want to fight fascism, look at the fascism of the 21st century. Look at the same structures, the same principles, the same moral superiority, the same despise and hatred for human race. Why don't you fight against that? Why are you actually allies of those people? And I was always trying to find questions, what kind of affiliation the left is having with Islamism? I think for many reasons. The left has been always searching for someone to patronize, to be the advocate of. So it's, at a certain point in history, it was the proletariat, the working class. It's almost disappearing. So then it became the third world. Also, we don't use this term anymore, the third world. What's that? Now it's the Muslims, the immigrants. They need somebody to speak for, to defend. And they need somebody to give them hope that they might defeat capitalism and that they might bring the West into knees. They might find somebody who hates America and Israel as much as they do. So that's basically the alliance. But it's not only the left. It's the political class in general. It's the political opportunism. I've been asking myself, why are people talking about freedom more when it comes to freedom of religion of certain Islamists in Europe, more than they talk about freedom of speech when it comes to criticism of Islam? Why? And I figure out there is a bunch of reasons for that. First of all, you have the political opportunism. Countries, Sweden, also Norway, also Denmark, Germany, United Kingdom, United States, who have businesses and alliances with countries that we all know that they're enemies of humanity. But they are selling them weapons, they have certain businesses with them, and investments, and they don't want to annoy them. I'm always stunned to see somebody like the American president or the American former Secretary of State and most likely the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton, saying there is absolutely no link between Islam and violence. Absolutely no link. She didn't say maybe 10%, maybe 20%. No, absolutely no link. How do you know that? How long have you been living there? How much do you know about Islam? But of course, if you have some consultants who are linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, whose main job is to defend Islam all the time, then you will come up with such silly statements that nobody will take serious, or only crazy people might take serious. But it seems that we have so many crazy people in this world right now who believe that shit. Then you have, after the political class, you have the lobbyists of certain countries who are spread all over Europe and the West, doing the jobs of these countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and United Arab Emirates and Kuwait and Turkey. And you will find those lobbyists everywhere, everywhere. Not only in the media, but also at universities. You will figure out that many research projects are funded actually by those states. And then you will know from the titles of those projects why they are funded by these states. Islamophobia, the rule of Islam in enlightening Europe, or something like that. You will find such projects. They're paid by Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Ask in Georgetown University what's going on there. Al-Walid bin Talal, the Saudi milliardaire, how much is he financing campaigns for promoting this idea of Islamophobia is the real problem, not Islamic terrorism. And you will find those lobbyists even in political parties in Europe. So political organizations like Muslim Brothers and Salafists and also the other Turkish organizations are allowed to organize themselves and are also allowed to send members of them into the parties to kidnap the discussion of Islam. So they start to be the consultant of the party leader on Islam. And they bring their issues there. And then they start to warn against people like me, against people who have spoken before me, that those are the real danger in the society. They're splitting us. We love each other. Islam is love, Islam is peace, and only those people are the problem. Kill the messenger. Kill the messenger. The one who is telling you we have a problem is the problem. The one who is pointing his fingers to the problem is the problem. That's their strategy, and they're much more successful in that than you think. And after the lobbyists, they come so you feel it's like a fortress with many walls that you have to fight against if you are criticizing Islam. The political class, they're lobbyists. Then you have the political left, of course. We talked about that enough. And you will find the normal Muslims who would blackmail you with their emotions, with their feelings, with their religious feelings. Mr. Abdel-Samad, why don't you take care of the religious feelings of Muslims when you criticize the Prophet? I always answer, who takes care of my rational feelings? The Prophet said many things which are attacking my rationality and my sense of humanity and my sense of humor too. So why only them are having the feel? Who's asking me how I feel like to live 24 hours under police protection? How it feels like to be in danger all the time for expressing my opinion openly. I didn't do any other crime than expressing my opinion. Shouldn't it be a matter of course in Europe 2016? After all what we have been experiencing, more than 230 years after Voltaire and Kierkegaard and Kant, I don't want to forget Swedish people. You name them. After this 250 years after this act of freedom of press, why should we be discussing that today if we don't have a problem with Islam? Why should we discuss this? Should we be talking about something else, in fact? So, and then who should criticize Islam? That there is an army waiting for you. So if you have a white skin, you lost the battle, you are a racist, you have no chance. Or you have the wrong translation of the Quran. Or you take the verses out of context. Okay. Or you don't really know much about Islam because you basically don't speak Arabic. So what should they do with somebody like me who was learning the Quran since he was 3 years old, who speaks perfect Arabic, who has a father who was an imam, and who spent basically most of his life studying this book and trying to understand it. And he's a self-hating Muslim. There must be something in his biography that made him hate Islam so much that he would come and attack it that way. But could it be that it's the experience I'm seeing in every Arab country I'm visiting, the experience I'm seeing in my own family, the experience I'm seeing in every country I lived in Europe, in the West? No. No, there must be some other motivation. Those who are defending Islam are not searching for motivation. You're not searching for their motivation to defend Islam. Who's paying them or why they are doing that? But when somebody is criticizing Islam, you have to dig into his motivations. You have to discredit him or her. Look at Ayaan Hirsi Ali and what she has been fighting against all the time. So it's a long story. So how can we deal with this issue? What should we do? We've been listening today the two proposals, the one to ignore the left and just go forward, and the other one to confront the left, which I would rather agree with that more, that we should confront. We should not ignore, we should